What's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler, and today is day number 30 of my 32 straight days previewing the 30 NFL teams ahead of the 2020 NFL season. If you haven't watched the first 29 episodes, the link to the full playlist is down below in the description. Today's episode, I'll be looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, let's be real, had a lot of changes this past offseason. In the first year of Bruce Arians as head coach in Tampa, the Buccaneers did not play all too well. Their previous quarterback, Jameis Winston, became the first quarterback ever to throw 30 touchdowns as well as 30 interceptions. The running game was atrocious, and although they allowed the fewest rushing yards on defense per game, they also allowed the third most passing yards per game in the entire league. All this led to the Buccaneers finishing 7-9, third in the NFC South, and, of course, by the way, missing the playoffs once again for the 12th straight season. That looks to change as, in case you have not heard already, the Buccaneers signed some guy named Tom Brady to be the quarterback of their franchise going forward, or at least for next 2 years, 3 years, who knows how long he's going to play. Moving on from Winston, Brady will have some really good options to throw to, as they have already Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, two elite wide receivers, can make plays all over the field. And then they also brought Tom Brady's arguably favorite target in his career, Rob Gronkowski, out of retirement at tight end. And there's also been a rumor of them possibly signing Antonio Brown to join this receiving core as well. So great for Brady, given the fact that last year in New England, he really didn't have anyone to throw to. If Godwin, Evans, and Gronk all stay healthy, Brady will have a phenomenal season. And he's also got a solid offensive line in front of him as well. The running game still is on paper a little bit lackluster. Ronald Jones, although he is to come out that he has improved, put on some weight, gotten better in the passing game, I'm not too sure. He needs to be a better pass protector. Ultimately, it comes down to who is Brady going to want on the field. He'll make the ultimate decision, whether it's Jones, rookie Keyshawn Vaughn, or LaShawn McCoy, who they signed just a couple weeks ago. In addition, the addition of Tristan Wirfs in the draft at offensive tackle really helps solidify this offensive line. Wirfs is a physical freak, and I think the Buccaneers could really take advantage of that. And then on defense, they have the league's sack leader, there we go, words, from 2019 is Shaquille Barrett. He is paired with vets like Jason Pierre-Paul, Levante David, and Ndamukong Suh, and William Golston. So a very solid core, in my opinion, right there. And then they also, they also have some nice pieces in the front seven as well, with Vita Vea and Devin White, two young guys that are slowly emerging into top defensive players in the league. The issue is still going to be the secondary. There's a lot of inexperience with guys like Andrew Adams and Ryan Evans, have the longest NFL tenures, both entering their fifth season. There will be a lot of growing pains for this defense, and it will be on Arians, Brady, and the rest of the offense to make up for that, because the teams will most likely be able to throw the ball all over this defense once again. So that is a big concern for me. What will Brady's arm be like, say, towards week 7, 8, 9, and beyond? Because he's going to have to be throwing a lot to keep his team in games. Looking at the full Buccaneers schedule, which will be down below in the description, week 1, they take on the New Orleans Saints in what is a very exciting matchup. I ultimately have the Saints winning that one, simply because I just don't know. Like, sure, the Buccaneers have been practicing all offseason as a team. You've seen all the Instagram posts, people saying, oh, they should be social distancing and whatnot. I just don't know if that is really going to translate onto the field. Sure, it builds up somewhat of a chemistry, but there's a difference from when you practice in shorts and a t-shirt and then you get into a game in pads with the lights on you and all that. Week 2 versus Carolina, I think that's an easy win. The Panthers don't look to be very good. Week 3 versus Denver in Denver. This one is interesting for me. I flip-flopped on this a couple times. I ultimately gave the Broncos the edge here simply because I think the Broncos, sure, they got a lot more inexperience with guys like Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, etc., etc. But they're at home. They can sling the ball all over. And this is one of those games where it's going to be maybe like a passing of the torch moment, who knows, from Brady to Lock. Week 4 versus the Chargers, another passing of the torch moment, possibly from Brady to Justin Herbert. I have the Buccaneers winning this one. This is one of those games where I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers offense comes alive or the Chargers defense gets a lot of pressure on Brady. Week 5 at Chicago, that's another win. The Bears don't look to be very good. Unless Khalil Mack has a monster game, I don't see the Bears having much of a shot. Week 6 versus Green Bay. This one I flip-flop a little bit on too, being the fact that the Buccaneers will be at home, but the Packers are still the Packers. Ultimately, the Buccaneers, I think, will have the edge. I think they've just got too many weapons on offense for the Packers to slow them down. Week 7, 8, and 9, and 10, and 11. Yeah, the whole list. Are straight wins for the Buccaneers. I keep saying the Patriots because Tom Brady. It messes me up. Week 7 at the Raiders. Raiders don't look to be very good. Week 8 versus the Giants, or at the Giants. Giants don't look to be very good. Week 9 versus New Orleans. I think this will be a nice test to see how this team has developed halfway through the year, basically. This is the halfway point. This is game number 9. So, sure, everyone might be looking forward to that Week 1 matchup, but I'm more so looking forward for this Week 9 matchup to see how this team has continued to go throughout the year. And because the Saints are going to be their toughest competition for the division. I ultimately have the Saints winning the NFC South, but just having this big-time matchup in the middle of the year will be huge. Ultimately, this could decide the division, hands down. And I think being at home, it helps them a lot. We know Drew Brees has a track record of not performing great away from home, but this is going to be a big-time matchup, and everyone, I think, we're going to want to watch it. Week 10 at Carolina, Week 11 versus the Rams. I mean, these are just two games that I just don't care for. I think the Buccaneers are going to blow them out, both teams out, so good way to get there into this big-time matchup. Week 12 versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, we've seen Brady and Mahomes have some big games in the past. Who says they can't do it again? Ultimately, I have the Chiefs winning this one simply because Patrick Mahomes gets sling the football. And if this Buccaneers secondary isn't up to snuff by this point, it's going to be a long day for them. But it will be fun to watch to see how Brady and co. handle that one. Week 13 is their bye week, so late in the year, they'll get a nice little bit of rest for one final push. I have them Week 14, 15, 16, 17, their final 4 games. I have them going 3-1, winning the first 3. Versus Minnesota, at Atlanta, at Detroit. So that sets them up nicely. They'll be 11-4. They could have a possibility to get into. They'll be set up nicely for the playoffs. But I have them dropping Week 17 versus the Falcons. Ultimately going 11-5, 6th in the NFC, getting a wild card spot. So they'll have a little bit of work to do to ultimately make it to a Super Bowl. 5 games I'm most looking forward to. Week 3 versus the Broncos. Like I mentioned, 2 high-octane offenses. But I think the Broncos, being at home, have the ability to sling all over that secondary, especially if they're not at its peak. Week 6 versus Green Bay. These are 2 top teams projected in the NFC. So this will be a nice test for the Buccaneers to see how they actually stack up. Week 9 versus the Saints, like I mentioned. Sure, you could go to the Week 1 matchup against New Orleans. But being that this game will be at home for the Buccaneers, and both teams will have enough time to really get a feel for how this season is going, really see where they need to be better at, where they need to improve and whatnot. So this will be a nice game there. Week 12 versus Kansas City. Do I really need to say more? I mean, the Chiefs are the top dog in the league, reigning Super Bowl champions. So the Buccaneers will have a tall task in front of them. And like I said, Brady, Mahomes have had a lot of fun matchups in recent years. Who's to say that cannot happen again? And remember, when the schedules came out, I think it was NFL Network had like Jim Nantz, Joe Buck, all the big guys at the various television networks on. And they were all like, oh yeah, we got this game. But Nantz shut them all down basically, be like, you guys might have all those games, but we got Brady versus Mahomes. So that just goes to show how big this game could possibly be. And then finally, Week 17 versus the Falcons. This game could ultimately decide playoff seeding. I do have the Buccaneers losing this one, but playoff seeding will be on the line here. The Falcons will probably need to win to get in and get that 7th wild card spot. So a lot up in the air. The Buccaneers, who knows, maybe they could still be in the division race by this point. Seeding could be up in the air. So a lot can go down in Week 17. And once again, these are 2 very solid offenses. You got Brady and his crew versus the Falcons with Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Hayden Hurst, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, etc. So it should play a very fun matchup. Last year, this Week 17 matchup came down to the wire when Jameis Winston threw a pick 6. I don't think that's going to happen again, but it would be very interesting to see. But let me know what y'all think down below in the description. Can Tom Brady lead the Buccaneers to their first Super Bowl since 2003 and get his 7th ring? His 7th, which is mind-boggling to me. Or are the Buccaneers, was this a bad signing or regrettable signing, and they just need to start over and start young? Thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments section. Tomorrow I'll be looking at the Tennessee Titans, who had a remarkable season last year. So hope you're excited for that. Until then, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.